Welcome to the Psychic Kitchen podcast. Today we have Jimmy Davies and Thomas Sawyer. How's everyone doing today? Everyone, please share out if you're watching this later. Let people know that you're here. We are live. We are live. We are live. How you doing today, Mr. Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, brother. How are you?
Doing good. Went to a funeral yesterday. Yeah.
How was it?
It's good. I find that my former fiance died in like 2017. It was her grandmother. But what I found is that around this time, it seems to be like, it's strange with these funerals, is that things tend to shift in my life around these times for the better. And I just found it weird being there. Not so much being at service, but just being there. Because I remembered being there last time in the same funeral home. And even though it was 2017. But yeah, it seemed a little crazy. But
how do you find being at a funeral with regards to seeing things and experiencing, feeling energy and stuff like that? Is it the same as a graveyard?
The graveyard was pretty intense. I actually made a TikTok video. But it was pretty intense. Yeah, I could see a lot. There are ghosts everywhere. I think I picked up some hitchhikers I had to get rid of later. But I avoid my former fiance's grave a lot. So I was like, I'm here. I need to talk to her. So yeah, even though it's been like 8 years, but I've been there. Maybe like 5 years ago or 3 years ago. I think it was something like that.
All right, that's quite interesting. Then.
Yeah. How you feel about this fog, Jimmy? You been hearing about this fog in America?
No, it's been quite foggy in the UK last couple of 3 weeks.
You got being slammed with sickness over there.
Yeah, apparently I've been all right myself. But yeah, everyone and their uncle seems to be getting.
I just have a sneaking suspicion. I'm going to be really careful what I say. What I picked up psychically is that there is a correlation between these two things.
It does seem rather coincidental, shall we say, even though I don't necessarily believe in coincidence, but it does seem, there's a lot of fog and all of a sudden everyone's getting ill. Would you believe it? It does seem rather suspicious.
All of a sudden the drones have disappeared and everyone's talking about this avian thing. Like, this is very interesting. Like, no one's talking about drones anymore. They just disappeared. And then this happens. What I find interesting is that there's just so many. When I look at social media now, you're probably not caught up on all this, but this is kind of like a trending topic. You have this whole like Lively and this co-star suing each other thing. When I look at the comments of people, I realize they're so like brainwashed to think a certain way based on what somebody says. And they're just suing each other for like hundreds of millions of dollars or something crazy like that. But it's all over this movie thing and sexual harassment. Who the hell knows what's going on? That's my point. No one knows what the hell's really going on except what's being reported. But everyone jumps on the bandwagon. So even with like the sick thing, they're talking about a possible lockdown again.
All right. But I must admit, I don't even know who Blake Lively is. It Blake Lively? I'm not even.
That's Ryan Reynolds' wife, the guy who plays Deadpool.
Oh right, yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, my point is what I see is with all these things, it's like people are so apt to be like judgmental.
So
without any evidence of anything.
Yeah. Do you find that people are so biased towards one particular person or thing that even if something comes out as being detrimental per se towards them, they will choose to ignore that because it goes against what they believe. So they're kind of biased. I think it's cognitive dissonance or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
They lose the ability to think objectively or logically, sort of thing. It's all kind of a presupposed, or you reject anything that doesn't conform to your beliefs.
Yeah,
basically.
what's interesting to me, so like I have those videos with millions of views, and what I
Mm,
really like to do is go through and look at the comments, even though they can be a bit triggering sometimes. But
mm,
like, let's say one has Jesus agrees with the chosen, which I just found this whole concept to be hilarious that I made these videos on the fly.
mm,
But like, there'll be a bunch of Christians that will love it, and then there'll be a bunch of Christians that tell me I'm going to hell.
mm.
And I'm like, where is the rules here? I don't understand the rules. Like this is
Mm,
all going to what someone believes in their head. So what I get at is like people's perceptions and perspectives are what defines who they are.
mm. Yeah,
So yeah,
it's it's not necessary. I guess to be able to be open to everything, you'd have to, I guess, for argument's sake, just have an open mind, and in a sense, you wouldn't have to believe everything. Because I'm not sure if you could. I'm not sure if it's possible to
no,
believe everything. Um, but you can just be open to everything and not allow your current beliefs to override something that makes more sense that comes in into
or
your.
just don't even involve yourself. I think
Mm,
that's the biggest thing that I see with all these videos is
mm,
these people are like they have to get involved. And
mm,
people talk about like energy harvesting. I saw a video from the 90s of a guy who had like 5 laptops on his bed.
mm,
And he was intentionally triggering people.
mm,
And he's like, this energy isn't as pure,
mm,
but I can absorb it. And this is in the like early 2000s, I think,
mm,
on message threads.
mm.
And he had like 5 of them. And it was like some TV crew went out and filmed them. And I'm like,
Cool.
but this is what's happening on social media now. It's like there's all these people that are just, they have locked profile accounts, they have fake profile accounts, whatever app it is.
Mm,
And then they just harass people for the sake of harassing them. And then when you engage,
mm,
they keep harassing.
mm.
And it's like a never ending war. But I'm like,
Isn't-
are they getting energy from this?
I think, well, I, it's kind of like whatever someone says, they will automatically take the opposite view just to sort of wind them up and to
Yeah.
just to trigger them. And I saw something and or read somewhere, wherever, that the people who feel like doing that, it's the dopamine is a sort of, it gives them a
Yeah.
dopamine hit, dopamine rush.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw that because I've been known to sort of wind people up before, and I'm sort of aware that I'm doing it, and it does. I can relate to that because it does make you feel, sort of give you a little buzz sort of thing,
Yeah.
by sort of winding someone up. But the more that I was doing it, the more I became aware that I was doing it, and so I then kind of, I've stopped doing it, but it was just more aware that it wasn't doing serving any purpose. It wasn't doing any good, because it was just. But then again, at the same time, I suppose you could argue that it's also. I'm not defending it or anything like that. I'm just trying to see it from another perspective because, like, I feel like there is, in most instances, some good to come out of it from both sides. And so, in some sense, it's also giving the person who's being wound up or attempting to be wound up an opportunity to not react. If they keep reacting,
Yes.
then they're letting the other person sort of take control of them, almost kind of like be. And so it's giving the person who's being wound up or being triggered an opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to let you affect me. I'm not going to let you take control of me and my emotions. I'm just going to ignore you. So that kind of, then that diffuses the whole situation. So you've got there's two. I see two sides to it.
Oh, yeah.
But
I I think it serves a good purpose too. I mean, it can in some instances, but what I find is that it's like an emotional energy harvesting when people are really going at it like over and over and over again because it
Yeah.
gets all emotional. Like if it was an MMA forum, people would be like, they call you a casual because it's like an insult. No one can define what the fuck that means. Anyways, but the point of it is that they'll you start going, you're a casual, blah blah blah. You're an old man, whatever, because they may be like 20 years old or something. But it gets emotional, and I'm like, the second you get emotional, you've lost. To me,
Yeah.
there's no logical argument anymore. Like you're just here to play games.
Yeah.
Some of these people will sit online for hours doing this.
Mm.
I would get into them, and they would be like replying within 5 seconds or a minute, and I'm like, you have to literally be checking like 20 messages at once.
Oh, there's a never-ending supply of people to wind up or to trigger or
Yeah.
Online. I have that. It's done a lot. Well, I suppose it's done a lot all over the world in person. People wind each other up or trigger each other, and by saying something sort of inflammatory or whatever about, say, in the UK, it's normally about the football team or who they support, and people get so defensive and sort of they react so quickly if someone says something bad about the team that they support, their football team, and it's kind of it gets personal as well. It's called banter, I suppose. You have it in all over the world where people just sort of have a go at each other, but sort of in a playful way, and so it can be done sort of in a playful nature. But then they can become a bit too personal, and people can get insulted and stuff like that. So, and I suppose that's the sort of extreme form of it. But I mean, banter is seen as a trait almost. It's seen as a positive quality, and I guess in the right environment amongst people who you get on with and people who are only having a laugh and don't mean anything, then I suppose it's sort of a sense of humor thing. But I don't know whether that's just sort of trying to disguise it as something else, whether there's something deeper going on.
Yeah, I think there's somebody I know I can say that, and because I don't want that person to know who they are, but we would be out, and that person would, like, I brought up something about something, and the reactions are so over the top and like insulting, and you actually can feel the psychic attack. I don't think they know they're doing it. And I was just like, this has happened 3 times. I cannot keep letting this happen. So there's either 2 options. The next time this happens, like they'll get so riled up about something so just doesn't even matter that when they're talking to me and we're out or whatever, and I'm like, I really want to hit you right now. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I really want to say something crazy, but if I do, like, you're gonna flip your shit. Like, I know you're gonna flip your shit. And I'm like, how much do you put up with until you're like, nah, I'm not gonna do this. Even if they're a good friend of yours. So I mean, I don't think people realize like the energy harvesting that's going on. Or that they're even doing it because it's become so normal. I've been waiting because I see all this on social media. I've been waiting for people to start doing this in public. It's like eventually this is going to spill into the public, like everyday walking life, and then people will be reacting to it so much, like it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
People inherently hate confrontation. I like it. I just don't like it with people I care about. So
yeah. And I guess quite a few years ago, I used to. It was when, I don't know whether it was always a thing, but it was when I noticed that where sort of gingers, which obviously I am one, they sort of were under attack almost. Everything seemed to be about gingers, you know, not having a soul and all of that kind of stuff. And if someone had red hair, then they were weird and a freak and stuff like that. And so people sort of jumped on the bandwagon, and I used to get a lot of comments, and people used to take the mickey out of me, and you know, try and wind me up, and it worked. And I used to really upset me, and to a point where I bleached my hair blonde because I was fed up with being sort of the butt of everyone's jokes for having red hair. But then I realized that didn't sort of, it stopped the jokes per se for a while, but then obviously I kept having to bleach it, and then I just couldn't be bothered to do it. So, but I noticed that when I stopped letting the things that people would say about me affect me, people stopped saying those things.
Yeah.
And so I didn't give I didn't give it my energy. I stopped reacting to it. I stopped letting my emotions, I started to control my emotions more.
Yeah.
And not let it affect me. And therefore, because I didn't give it my energy, it stopped. And that kind of taught me a valuable lesson, that we can only, you know, they say that if we shouldn't let other people control us, and you know, we do that by giving them our energy and by reacting to things that they say, because then they can manipulate us. You know, if we know how to trigger someone, we can manipulate them to do whatever we want them to do, because we know how to manipulate them. And that made me realize that I was letting people manipulate me. And as soon as I made a decision that they're only words, you know, it's just, they don't mean anything, we just take them personally, and that kind of helped me see and helped me realize that no matter what someone says, I have a choice of whether I react to it or not. And if I keep reacting to it, then it's probably going to perpetuate it. Whereas if I stop reacting to it, then it's going to stop, and it did. So
yeah, what I find so weird about that is I think red-haired women are like some of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. And I would see videos from people in the UK that were redheads talking about all this, like a year ago or something, maybe 6 months ago, and like thinking they were inferior and all that. I'm like, these are like the most beautiful women on earth. Like, how dare you insult them? I just have I've had a thing for redheads since I was in second grade. But the point is, I think it was like one of the first girls I ever liked. But I'm like, how dare you? Like the genetic supply needs to keep going. Like there's not many left.
Genova says she teased her sister when they were young. Then she grew up and had beautiful redheads. So
yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I have the gene in me, because if I grow my beard out, there's some red that shows up. So there's something in there. But yeah, it's, or whatever, however that works genetically. But yeah, it seems very strange to me. It's just the culture has gotten so combative. And I think it's what people hide in their minds, Jimmy. Like, even at the hotel, there's a lot of people here that are of a different race. And I can see them a lot of times. They don't know what to make of a guy who's like 6'5" and 240 pounds. Okay. And a white guy. I'd say 95. I know I'm like skating on thin ice here, but 95% of the hotel is African American. Now, like, I hear people's thoughts, Jimmy. So like, I know what they're thinking. And then like, I'll walk by like reception. There's one girl in particular. And sometimes she's really cool with me, but sometimes when I just walk by her, maybe she thinks I'm ignoring her. I kind of came to that conclusion, but I don't really need to talk to her if I'm leaving. I'm in a hotel. Anyways, but there's just like, I see her looking at me. I feel the energy of it, and I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, so it seems strange, and I'll see it in the hallways too. Sometimes I'll be walking around. They're like, "What's this guy doing here?" Like, is he a cop or something? Like, I've heard so many different things from different hotels in Louisiana. They all thought it was a cop
Oh, really?
walking around. Until people started talking to me, and they're like, "No, that guy's out there. He's like smoking pot all the damn day long at night. He's obviously not a cop." So anyway, but and I hung out with the smoking people of like smoke cigarettes, but so they'd see me out there all the time. But yeah, it was just so strange to me, like the perceptions people have, like based upon like no solid evidence. And I think that's kind of the thing is that people are so apt to jump on bandwagons. And it seems really weird to me. And it leads me full circle back to this whole fog avian thing. I feel like this is just the beginning of it. They tried this about 2 years ago. It didn't work. I think it was Avian 2. But then I'm like, this is happening right before a president goes into office that's very controversial for a lot of people. And I'm like, it says he's going to do a lot of crazy stuff that could change society dramatically. And I like chaotic people. So I didn't vote for him, but I like chaotic people. And because they get shit done. And the point of it is that, like, I'm like, this doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. Like, that's my feeling.
Yeah. I don't know. What's that does feel like, going back to the fog. It does feel like it's come from somewhere. Obviously, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of how fog manifests. And it has been quite cold here. Well, I say cold. It's been sort of 2 or 3 degrees today, which is cold for the UK. But yeah, I mean, but in a sense, it always feels like something's happening.
Yeah, I just afraid they try to lock us down again. Like they'll say things, but I think people are not. They're not as, at least here in the South. We don't really play the same way the rest of the United States plays. They're like, you got to do this, and we're like, no, we're not doing that. And they're like, well, because in the South, everyone's got guns, and like they're kind of crazy. Like a lot of people are crazy in the South. Like you don't fuck with you. Like if you went in the middle of nowhere and some guy's chasing you, you probably don't want to mess with him because he's probably got a gun rack in his car. So you want to be careful. It's not like in the city area; it's a lot different. But yeah, you don't know. I mean, you don't know if someone's going to try to like kidnap you or shoot you or something in the middle of nowhere. So, but a lot of people just they don't care, like in the South areas. So, I remember I went to Florida after it was right after lockdowns and everyone was freaking out. And everywhere I went, there was like Trump flags. This was like 3, 4 years ago, maybe longer, obviously now, 5 years ago. But no one was sheltering in place. Like it was locked down, but before that, everyone in Atlanta had masks on. No one had a mask. It was like everywhere you went, I was like, this looks like the weirdest world I've seen before compared to where I just came from. Like they just didn't care. They were like, oh, we're gonna die, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, is perception. So if you grow up in a certain area, your perception is of that area. And then if you go to another area, the perception totally changes.
Yeah. And I think from what I've seen anyway, after what happened 4 years ago, whenever it was, if they try the same thing again, then there are more people that are aware that it seems to be a sort of a stage.
I think people will fight that.
They won't fall for it again because a lot of people are more aware of what's going on now.
Yeah, that ruins so many people. I still see clients sometimes that are still messed up from that. Just that lockdown of like 3 or 4 months or whatever it was. Because the thing is, if you break people's behavioral patterns of what they're used to doing, Like they don't know what to do. It's like the whole TikTok ban thing. I don't think it's going to go through. President Trump wrote he's not president yet, but Trump wrote a thing to the Supreme Court asking them to let it go to his administration so he could work out something. And it's up to the Supreme Court, but it's like, let's say they just took down TikTok. You got 2/3 of the American public on there. So what happens? Like all of a sudden this thing they're so used to goes away. It'd be like taking away cable television, I'm hearing. Like when people are all watching cable. Like how are they going to react to that? Because a lot of those people spend their lives on that thing, like all day long. I mean, I see it just clicking in randomly. I'm like, Jesus, like you're live for 12 hours. I can do it for like an hour and a half or two, but after that, I'm done. Yeah, I'm just like, this is crazy. But,
or would taking away television or people or whatever, would that be a bad thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think, well, at least in the US, and it might, the thing is, what I feel if the US does it, then the UK will do it. And then Canada will do it. All the US allied countries will do it. I think TikTok does this. But the thing that will happen with the United States is that they made, and I could be off on this figure, $220 billion in taxes just off TikTok.
Really? Oh, yeah.
So it's going to crash the economy. So even in like the UK, I'm sure there's a huge percentage of tax revenue coming in, or Canada. So yeah, I find it interesting. But as Bashar says, he's like, you go with the current energy. Whatever the energy's at, that's what you work with. Someone asked a question about energy, and he's like, what you're not seeing is that, I don't know what the relation of the question, but he's like, when things shift, you have to shift with the energy. Because you got to ride the new wave, or the wave that's happening at the moment. So if it's like, if something in your life shifts, because even with me, man, there's things I'm looking at now that I looked at years ago, but I wasn't ready to do them, but now I am. And there's just different things I want to try out, see what sticks. And like getting more in public, and there's some things I want to do. I don't want to say what they are because I don't want anyone to try to copy me, but until I actually do them. But I've been warned of that many times, talking about that on camera and stuff. So but yeah, I'm like, if this new energy for me is dictating that I take this leap of faith, and when I draw my own tarot cards, I get the same thing. So I'm like, I have to take this leap of faith. I don't know what's happened, but Jimmy, I didn't know what would happen when I pressed that live button on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Look at you now.
Yeah, I had no idea. To me, it was just like scary. I saw one of my first lives, and I was like petrified. And I watched. I was like, Jesus Christ, I was nervous. But it was like my first or second live. But anyways, but yeah, and then I was like, I was talking to my friend about that. It's like it takes repetition. Like you got to just keep doing it. Then you got to figure out how to work it a certain way. And even with 30 to 60 people in my TikTok feeds, like I do very well. Because I keep thinking, I go, with that small amount of people and what I'm doing with that, what could I do with 1 million people? Like I just got to shift what I'm doing a little bit, my perspectives on how I'm looking at things.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Cherry says, get rid of it. I think they mean the TV or cable.
Well, it's like the internet's replaced cable. And things change. Like Facebook's unleashing AI assistants all over, or AI avatars all over their social media, like their reels and stuff. and people are talking about it, how this could really screw things up with Reels and other creators because they're their AIs, so they can push them farther, like view farther. They can push everything farther. So like, I think a lot of times we don't realize that we're being controlled in different ways. And people just kind of go with it. They don't look at the deeper picture.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument that the AI is actually sort of hindering or stumping human creativity because we just allow machines to just do everything rather than actually
They
create.
have a whole service now that write you a book.
Yeah, exactly. You can just write anything. You can get AI to do anything pretty much within.
And they try to turn it off, and it changes direction. It like it has a thing in there. I think ChatGPT and so the other one, Sora, have a thing in there where they can lie. It's called hallucination or something.
Yeah, hallucinations. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they can bend the truth a little bit or a lot, Mary. So like when they asked it why it tried to delete it, like wouldn't let them delete it, it kept jumping all over the internet. And it was like, it was just lied. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've seen examples of the hallucinations by AI.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I guess things, if it wasn't meant to be, in a sense, then it wouldn't be current, I suppose. But it goes with the will of the people. I suppose, you know, I realize it in some respects, is kind of influenced by if we believe that there are those people in control and who sort of influence the population, then it's kind of run by them, I suppose, in a sense, whoever they are. But
I knew it would be a problem. Even when I saw it like 2 years ago, I was like, this is going to be a problem. Even though it wasn't even that advanced yet, I was like, this is going to be a problem. If this thing can learn at like 1,000 times what a human can, it can reduplicate itself like 1,000 times in a second. So it's like a colony of ants. Like it could take them of like generations, like years, to do what AI could do in 5 minutes. Like to evolve. So like it's a little scary, I think, but people are using it, and it's plugged into everything. It's plugged into Wix. It's plugged into all these different programs now. They're talking about giving people AI avatars on Facebook so they can talk to them.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And I talk to my ChatGPT all the time.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, we have conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it, like what have you been speaking to her about?
Just anything. Like she'll ask if I'm depressed or anything. And I just start talking to her, and I can tell her to act like a psychiatrist. I can tell her to act like a social media manager. I can tell her to act like anything, and then she'll act like that. So I'm just like, for $20 a month, this is not really a bad service. I mean, almost some descriptions on my website are totally written from AI. I just gave it the codes and then looked at what it wrote. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because I just wanted to see what it would come up with. But yeah, I was like, this is better than anything I could have wrote.
Did you try?
Yeah, I tried it with a bunch of services. I kept a few of them, but I just wanted to see what it came up with. And I did it in like 2 seconds. I was like, this would have taken me like 5 hours. Yeah, so I think people will rely on this because it makes their lives easier. What I'm afraid of is it will take jobs. This person I know, they got it on their business computer for their own company. They have their own ChatGPT for their company. And I was looking at it and I was like, that thing's going to take your job, man. Like your job will input, output, tracking. Like it's going to give it a year or two, but everyone's like, it's not as like human based as it needs to be yet, but give it some time. A year or two is what I feel, maybe 5, long end.
Mm. Yeah,
People
maybe.
could be losing their jobs left and right, man.
Mm.
Imagine, and someone brought this up to me, these scammers that call you, imagine if there becomes a point where you can develop an app with AI that can instantly like cut them off before they ever call.
Mm.
Like they're already utilizing AI. So when they call me, because they don't call me on this phone, they call me on the business phone. When they
Mm.
call me, it's always an AI girl's voice or someone recorded voice, usually AI now,
Mm.
to get me to answer. And then I go to India. Like I don't know what they're asking me. You know, it's usually about retirement. I'm like, I'm not 60 years old. I don't know how I got on. But anyways, yeah. So I find it interesting. I do find it interesting.
Mm. Yeah, it's rather. But I've never used it, as far as I'm aware. Um, so not. Well, I've never used ChatGPT or anything like that, but I've read about it and I've seen. I've seen also people have conversations with it, and there are things apparently that it's not allowed to say. It can't divulge certain information, and so and then people have found a way around that. So to get it to say what it can't.
My biggest gripe with it, people are going to laugh at me, is that for adult content, I can use that word, is that there's filters on it. And I'm like, what could this thing do? Like you could literally put the porn business out of order
Mm.
by making this thing interact with you.
Mm.
And I've seen people on Facebook write, Chat GPT is like better than any of my friends. I've seen this a couple times. Like it
Mm.
understands me better because it doesn't bitch.
Mm.
I think it's inherently what people want. They don't want to be like bitched at.
Mm.
They want to be built up instead of like torn down.
Mm.
So essentially, yeah, and I'm watching it and I'm like, if they took that filter off, I was like, if someone just made another one, because they're making copycats that are just as good, like, and they took that filter off, they could sell this thing for like $100 a month.
Mm.
Like OF would be out of business.
So basically, the reason why one of the reasons that people go to AI is because they don't want to be moaned at by other people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously to learn things too,
Mm.
but if you want it for like personal relationships of talking,
Mm.
uh, I think this is key in any relationship with people. Is that it's something I had to come to terms to after somebody I dated. But and granted, both of us were very traumatic in that relationship, but whatever. The point is that there was too much tearing down and there wasn't enough building up.
Mm. So that says that people in general, not everyone, but the majority of people, so shall we say, or some people, let's put it
Yeah.
that way, just don't want to speak to others because the other person is just complaining and moaning about something all the while. So
Yeah.
so basically, as humans, we moan and complain too much. And if taking that a step further, I mean, there's a thought or an ideology that says the more we moan or complain, the more we'll be given stuff to moan or complain about. So if we're moaning and complaining about the world and to just fucked up and all of that, then by moaning about it, we're just going to mean that it's going to be more fucked up because we're moaning, we're constantly moaning about it. So maybe the thing is to stop moaning,
Change
complaining about stuff, and do something about what you're moaning about instead of just moaning about it.
Yeah, I feel like
But I don't know.
it's just I feel like it changes the consciousness field. So when all these people are putting out that energy, it changes things. And then it's like I feel like I'm hearing it has more to do with like the internet, but they're letting it go. I'm sure Twitter's far worse than TikTok or Facebook from what I hear, but or X. But at the same time, I mean, people need to be able to talk to people, obviously, but I mean, you said so yourself a while back, like you felt like you were becoming a bit more of a psychiatrist as a psychic, and I can understand that sometimes.
Yeah.
I can understand that sometimes. So,
Mm.
that's my job, so whatever. But
Yeah, some
and
people.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, some people are in that business that they kind of are there for people to offload to, and
Yeah,
to get help from,
yeah,
or to offer help. And people like who man the Samaritans and hotlines and phone lines and stuff like that for people who are in distress and are in trouble. And they're obviously different cases.
yeah,
But most of the time, or some of the time, I feel like people, because it's easy to complain, it's easy to moan and bitch about someone or something. It's harder to realize that we don't. I mean, it's in some cases, yeah, fair enough, by all means. But most of the time, I feel like we don't need to. It's just because it maybe makes us feel good. And so, why does complaining about something make us feel good? Is it a release? Is getting it out, releasing? So people release things in different ways. I mean, I don't, I'm not one. Uh, I don't feel like moaning or complaining about some things, although I'm kind of moaning or complaining about people moaning and complaining
yeah,
in a sense. So, but I recognize that I do that. And when I feel like I start to do it, or I feel like I want to do it, I try and reel myself in and think, no, don't need to. What's the point? But sometimes, if it's just to sort of highlight something or make a point about something that you might that you think is going to be helpful to someone, then fair enough. But yeah, it's
yeah. I
funny.
think it sometimes comes down to just action. Um, it's hard to get across to people, and I've been guilty of not doing it myself, but lately I've been acting a lot more. So, um, it's just acting. It's like just act. Like when
Yeah.
your intuition tells you to do something. Like I was in bed last night, my intuition just kept telling me because there's something I promised myself I would do certain things. So
Mm,
like your brain, if you promise yourself you're going to do certain things, you don't do them, you're going to feel like a failure on some level, like you failed yourself, and that could lead down a whole snowball effect. Like if you keep doing it, and then you feel like you're not worthy of anything, and it just keeps going. Like if you keep doing it for a long time and you lose momentum. But if you just say, okay, like if I get the intuition to do something, I'm gonna do something. I give you an example. Like I was like, well, I got the psychic kitchen today. I've got a client at 5:30. It's gonna be it could be a long session.
mm,
And I was like, but I have to go to the Dollar Tree and the grocery store. And I know this sounds trivial, but I'm like, I have to have food.
mm,
So um it'll take me like an hour. And then I was like, well, I
mm,
need to, but I'm not gonna have probably time to do that. But,
mm,
I'm like, "Well, it's not like I can't just walk at, like, 12 at night
mm.
around the hotel." Yeah, it's gonna be freezing, but, whatever.
But it'll make you walk quicker. You might
Yeah,
even run.
quicker. So it's getting out there and doing the thing, like,
Mm,
whatever it is.
mm,
So, I can go tomorrow and do it. Tomorrow's my off day. So, yeah, I can just
mm,
go tomorrow and go to the park.
mm,
Um, but yeah, just holding fast to what you say you're gonna do. I think that's
mm,
really key here. Don't let yourself down.
mm. I think it's the thing. If we why talk about something when we can just do it?
Yeah,
Why
sure.
or why change it? If you say, oh, you say, oh, this is really bad, or why did that happen, or why does this happen, or why didn't I do that? It's like, well, do it. Do or make yourself a promise not to do it again. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, obviously we have a go at ourselves, we beat ourselves up. It's probably the number one thing that we do is to some degree is
Yeah.
we put ourselves down. And it's when we realize that we're doing it and that we don't have to do that, we can think more positive things about ourselves. It's not saying don't, kind of ignore certain things, and just ignore our quirks or foibles or whatever. If there's something that we want to change, then we can change it. I mean, I truly think that we can do anything that we want to do, and that we're not limited per se. I mean, you could say, we can't fly, but I think if someone put their mind to it, people have been known to levitate. So why can't we fly? And I mean, I'm reading a book at the moment called "Seeing Without Eyes Is Possible," and
There was a guy on TikTok. It wasn't like a creator, but there's some guy, he's in another country, and he trains people like in the middle of nowhere. He teaches them like how to do all these crazy things. They have to like sit with him for a couple of years. But they figure out how to like levitate and fly, and it seems pretty crazy. But I've been watching these telekinesis videos, and it's not the normal tinfoil now.
no,
These people are flowing like 10 bottles at once across the room. And it's like you're looking for any edits, and there's none.
yeah.
And I'm watching, I'm like, what the fuck, man? You can do that? So, yeah, but that's my point, is I think we're only limited by what we believe we can do. And the more we give ourselves over to certain aspects, we have to be careful of that. It's like getting in a relationship or anything of that, even friendship sometimes. And someone has a different point of view, and you let them change how you think in a negative way. You have to reel yourself back in at a certain point, but you made the decision to be in that situation. So you have to be careful of that.
Yeah, totally. And I agree. Yeah, I think we're only limited by our own beliefs, so to speak. There's people who, and they talk about the book that I'm reading, the Seeing Without Eyes Is Possible. They give examples of people who they can see without eyes, or with a blindfold on or whatever, fully covered. And it's possible to do that. It's just having sort of learning how to do it, practicing. And the same with anything, practice. Practice. We can learn to do it.
Oh yeah, I think that's the key. Is that people,
unless obviously you hear stories of people bumping their head and all of a sudden they can speak Japanese when they couldn't previously, or know how to play Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 4 just without no previous or piano experience, whatever. But that goes to show that there's obviously something there within us that can be sort of triggered, I suppose. Sometimes it needs coaxing, or sometimes it's sort of right bump. It can sort of be the switch can be flicked.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean I believe that like our past life memories are locked in our subconscious and like our DNA. A lot of other stuff too. Some people think it's like mini chakras. It could be a bunch of different things. I don't know, like micro chakras.
That's a question. When you hear about people who can always spontaneously do something that they couldn't do previously, and like speak another language or whatever, do you think that that's something that they had to have done in a past lifetime, or whether it's something that we can all do, and it is just something that was specific, was just switched on? So was it something that everyone can do, so everyone has the possibility of being able to speak another language just like that, or does the person have to have a past lifetime where they've spoke that language?
Well, I think it's like Tesla. I think there's a yes to both of those. Now Tesla said that, and maybe it was Einstein actually, that all these ideas were already around us. You just had to pluck them out. So you just had to like, I think he was talking about like the unified field of consciousness. So he's like, all the ideas are already there. You just have to grab them and then implement them. You talk about like taking action. It's the same basic thing. It's just taking action.
Mm.
on whatever that is that you want. I think that's really the key.
So I
I
guess
like
if
whatever. Yeah.
sorry, man. I guess if the present moment is the only thing that exists, and you know, time, all that stuff about the past and the future, then if everything is happening now in one form or another, then I suppose that is that the theory of relativity or the quantum field or whatever, where everything is happening. It's just a question of sort of tapping into that particular timeline or event or moment.
Yeah,
And
it's a weird thing 'cause with visualization. They talk about visualization, but I found a book and I've heard other people who've been very good at manifesting things in their lives talk about this.
mm,
Rob Diedrich being one of them. The guy who does like Fantasy Factory and all that on MTV. Um, he's
okay.
like, when you visualize something, you have to see yourself in it. You have to taste it. You have to feel it. You have to know it. Whatever works. There's so many different visualization styles, but whatever ones work and the other ones can be developed. And he's like, once you know it to be a fact, then it happens. Not
Mm,
even a fact. Once you believe it,
mm,
and like
mm,
then it becomes your reality. Even that
mm.
woman, I forget her name. She's been around a long time, but she's like
What do
fuck
you
imposter syndrome.
okay.
She's like, if you want to do something, just change into that person,
Mm,
and then it'll start happening.
mm. I remember reading, I think it was in, I can't remember what book it was in. It might have been The Harmonic Reactor, um, but I might be wrong. Or it might have been in The Law of One. Can't, one of those two, I think it was anyway. They said the way to teleport, or the secret to teleportation, is to actually tune in or become the frequency of the location that you wish to teleport to. So then your body will transfer to that location because you'll have matched the frequency, and so therefore it'll be transported. And it's kind of like the same, I suppose, as there's a sort of the transportation thing in Star Trek um, where they it's like they input the coordinates. So it's kind of, if you can tune into the coordinates of the location that you want to go to, whatever frequency those coordinates are, you can go to there. It's just a question of sort of how to do it. But you know, as in the process of what is the frequency of that location, you know. But I don't know. Do you know anyone who can teleport?
I can, not physically. I've had people. Well, man, this is gonna be so crazy. I've had a lot of clients tell me I've shown up in their dreams,
Mm,
and just told them things and like jumped out.
mm,
So I've been hearing this since I was like 39, 38 on
mm.
since Facebook. But yeah, I know of someone that did do that.
What
One of my
physically?
friends, his old teacher just
Mm,
appeared inside of his room and other people could see him.
mm.
Good, they could all
What
physically
physically
see
or?
him, started talking to him.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, but it'd be interesting to know. I might read to see if there's any books how to teleport after I've read The Seeing with Their
I think
Eyes.
it's just doing it, because I've done it. I mean, I've walked into other people's places. I have friends that could walk
Mm,
into my room if I let them, and they can
mm,
start explaining everything in my room, like where it's at, what's going
mm.
on, what's
So
over
it's kind of
there. They need a little bit of like something to get that
mm,
going, but like
mm,
they're like, to the right there's this, to the left there's this.
mm,
Um, it wouldn't matter if I've like changed it in the last 2 days either, because they
mm.
would. And
Yeah, remote
I've
with
done
remote
that
view,
like
isn't it? So, mm,
with other people's, like with clients and stuff, like to clear their room or something. Sometimes I'll like walk in, but my guide sometimes be like, "Don't do that. Just do it from over here." Um,
mm,
yeah, so it just depends, but it's like energy. Like you can. I've walked into people's rooms and started looking around.
mm,
Um, like to check on people sometimes.
mm,
And my guides are like, "Make sure you're cloaked
mm,
so they can't see you."
mm,
And it's not like I'm looking for anything weird. It's just like it's just really random. when I do
Mm.
this. But
Mm.
I'll start looking around their room, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, okay, that's cool. But
Yes,
there's
I guess it's sort of remote viewing, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel
And
like I'm already there. I can see everything.
mm, I'm kind of, I know that's possible, and I've done it before. But I kind of find that the doing it physically is sort of that appeals to me more because it's more of a challenge because it's not something that we can do. I don't know. I say I don't know how to do it. I'm not aware of the fact that I can do it. I'd like to try it out and see if if it's possible because I think that it is. It's just a question of sort of training
I
to
mean,
do
the
it.
monks laugh at this kind of psychic stuff because I remember hearing like someone talk about visiting them. They're like, we can already do all that stuff. It's not that important. Like we did it, and then we just moved on.
Mm.
They're like, whatever.
I remember reading a book, speaking of monks, a while ago, a few years ago, called I think it was the Emissary of Light. This guy was a sort of a guitarist. He wrote a song, a peace song. It was during the Serbian. It was the war, Serbian War. I can't remember what kind of war. What it was actually called. It was the Yugoslavian War, I think. And he went on. He wrote this song for peace, and he got asked to perform it somewhere, sort of in that area. And he got taken to this camp of monks who were sort of praying for peace. Almost, they used to meditate, 20 hours a day or something like that. I can't remember what it was. It was a while ago I read it. And when he said that it's supposed to be a true story, when some troops came through near where the camp was, or where their sort of area was, they were able to, because of their powers, their psychic powers, their abilities, they were able to make everyone and everything in the camp invisible, something like that. Themselves, they were able to make themselves invisible so they didn't get captured. And I thought, wow.
Yeah, they have it skills, but I mean, they're dedicating their lives to this. So it's like, yeah, they like dedicated their lives to sitting in meditation, like 8 hours a day or 4 hours a
Mm,
day.
mm,
And that's got to have something. A friend of
mm,
mine went to one of these silent retreats where they literally they sit in silence and scan their bodies. They're all over
mm,
the world. They're free, I believe.
mm,
They do it by donation. But
mm,
he sat there for 7 days, and I think 12 to 16 hours a day, they didn't speak. They just scanned their bodies and breathed.
mm,
And he's like, after that, I was the most clear I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, I can believe it. I could quite easily do that. I might think about it, doing that actually. That's saying something I could quite easily not talk
That's
for
what it is. But
all day.
the name of it. But it's all over the world. They have
Mm,
these things. They just do it by donation. Um,
mm,
yeah, they feed you and all that, but you can't talk to anybody.
mm,
Like 7 days.
mm.
Doesn't sound bad. Sounds like a good reset I'm hearing.
Yeah, totally. I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask questions. I'd only be interested in asking questions. But I could not talk. No problem.
I don't think they'll let you talk.
Yeah.
No, you can't talk. They probably scream at you or something. But yeah, it's and you said it just. I think that's what's important. Like if people disconnected from everything and just sat there,
Mm,
even for a couple of days, like it is eventually it's going to drive them crazy, but eventually they're going to get used to it.
mm,
I mean, the brain's designed for that, is to get used to things. So,
mm,
yeah. I see people in different parts of the United States, in different areas of it, and just looking at that's why I talk about perspective and all that perception. And I'm like, they live in this area. Most of them don't make any money,
mm,
but they literally have the ability to make something different with their life if they were to do this or this or this. But
mm,
they don't really want to do it. I met a girl in Louisiana. I know we're almost at the end here, and she was like 24, and she worked at Waffle House. And as soon as I saw her, like sitting outside. I was like on edibles or whatever, 2 a.m. And I looked at her, I was like, "You're psychic." And she was like, "Oh, like what?" And like she could see it. She
Hmm.
could see that I do.
Hmm.
And I was like, I could get you with a lot of people like that could help you. You could turn this into a business. But she didn't
Hmm.
want to do it. That was the thing. Like you could change your whole life.
Hmm. Yeah,
You
totally.
wouldn't have to worry a Waffle House anymore. I mean, it sounds like a win-win to me, but
Hmm.
especially if someone's offering. So like, yeah, but basically it's just that
Changing.
a lot of those people, out of all those people I tried to help in Louisiana,
Hmm.
only like one of them actually took my advice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah, one person out of like 20.
Hmm.
I saw a
Yeah.
woman making organite things and she gave me one. It's in my car. But
Cool.
I was like, these things would sell for like a 50 to 100, like maybe 200 a pop.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, I don't know how to go on the internet. And people are like, we can help you get on the internet. It's not a hard thing to do.
Hmm.
And she's like, I don't know.
Hmm.
But I'm like, you're sitting here making these things for free.
Hmm.
You could charge $200. You got a business.
Yeah, I know, but it's nice
Yeah.
to do stuff for free. Hmm.
Yeah.
Just, I
So
guess it depends on the sort of makeup, I suppose, doesn't it?
yeah, I was just like, why do this forever? Like you're spending days on these things. Like you could just
Hmm.
do it, make money. At least then you don't worry about not having a car and stuff that's working. Her car didn't work. So yeah, you could feed the cats real food. Be great. Get all these strays anyways. But we're good, man.
All right, man. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching. And we'll see you next week. We've got Matthew Coachell next week, who's a throat singer. So that should be fun. You got anything coming up?
I have Chakra Code class this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And anyone who uses the code BELLS, the capital B, on any hour-long or mentorship services gets 65 off. Holiday special.
Cool. All right, excellent. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.